So why is it that some golfers over 50 can still hit drives that carry 250 yards and roll out to almost 300? Well, they understand 5 key concepts. Today I'm going to tell you what those are, and more importantly, how you can also do them. Now the first one is that they understand how to create speed. They understand pressure shift, right? We call it kind of the shift, the pivot, and the go. When we're swinging the golf club, one of the ways that we can create club head speed is through pressure shift. It's one of the power sources. Now, first of all, pressure shift is this. Pressure shift is moving the weight from one foot to the other foot and then back to the lead foot. So let's think about this for a second. Think about like a baseball pitcher, or really any sport that you're trying to create club head speed or speed of some sort. You are moving your weight from side to side. So in golf and in the vertical line swing, of course, we love the 60-40. We love to start with a little bit more weight on the lead foot, and then we shift it to our trail foot, we pivot, and then we go. So it looks something like this. We start 60, we have 40, we shift it, we pivot, and then we go. Now, how do you know if you're doing that? Well, if you start with the 60-40, if you start with more weight on your lead foot, like all the golfers do who hit the golf ball a long ways, and you shift it, now the key is that you need to pivot. I'm going to start lead, I'm going to shift, everybody see that little bump, but then I've got to pivot. That's the key. If you just shift, that's a drift, a sway, but if you shift and pivot, now you've loaded into that trail foot, you've loaded into that trail leg and glute, and then from there you can go ahead and hit it. Now let me go ahead and hit one, then we're going to get into the second part of it. So here we go, the shift, the pivot, and then the go. That's the first concept you need to understand. 60, 40, I'm going to shift it, pivot, and then go. Ooh, Nick, did you get that one? Okay, Nick got it. That thing popped off there pretty good. Nick gave me a thumbs up. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And you know my favorite question. We love hearing where you're from. Be sure to put that in the comments. Number 2 is they have proper equipment. I'm not talking about a name brand or this brand or whatever. What I'm talking about is the equipment is built to match their swing speed. Now, most golfers out there have a loft on their driver that is not enough. One of the ways we carry the golf ball 250 yards is to have the proper loft on it. For example, in the MaxVert 2, we have 10.5 degrees of loft. That's a little more than industry standard. But what we have found for golfers with slower swing speeds, experienced golfers, we need to launch that ball a little bit higher so we get that carry. If your driver has 8, 9, okay, maybe even 10 degrees of loft, you better have a pretty high swing speed to get that ball to launch and carry. My advice to you is to make sure that you get a driver that probably has more loft than less loft. Number 3 is they understand how to hit up on the golf ball. So let me go ahead and tee one up here, and I'm going to demonstrate this for you. All things being equal, if I hit slightly up on the golf ball, a couple things happen. I get a little bit better launch, I get a little less spin, therefore I get a little bit more roll. So if I combine the more loft on the driver with a little bit of an upward angle of attack or hitting slightly up on the golf ball, that brings spin down a little bit, I get the launch and I get the rollout. Now, how do you do that? Well, we cover all this in our book, The Bad Lie, but you got to get first of all, the ball in the right spot. So if I put my feet together, ball's in the center of my heels, if I take a mini step towards the target, maybe, let's say 1 inch for sake of discussion, I take a large step away from the target, let's say maybe 10 or 11 inches. All right, so everybody see how I do that? So I put the club behind the ball, mini step 1 inch, big step 10 inches away. Now I know that the golf ball is slightly more forward in the stance. To set your body to hit up on the golf ball, what I want you to do, mini step towards, big step away. Remember the 60-40? Okay, remember, shift, pivot, go. So when you bump the hip, when you move 60% of your weight forward, you're going to naturally tilt your upper body away from the target. When I bump and I tilt, now I've set myself up to hit on the golf ball, or set my body up to hit slightly up on the golf ball. So let me go ahead and do it. And then we're going to talk about number 4, and then we'll get into number 5. So here we go. I've got the proper ball position, a little mini step, big step, 60, tilt. Okay, I'm going to shift, I'm going to pivot, and then I'm going to go. Okay, I'll take that. That one was a little bit more on the heel. Man, that had great launch to it. Number 4 is they hit a slight draw ball flight. I'm not talking a hook, I'm talking a slight draw ball flight. Generally, I like to see my students who are looking for more distance hit a slight draw. Why? Well, because when the ball is drawing, it tends to have a little less spin, and when it lands, it rolls out a little bit more. How do we do that? When you're set in there, you want to make sure that the club face is square to your target line. So I'm going to make sure the club face, I got my max vert tune, and here we have this fairway finder, this white line, so it's very easy to aim. I make sure that that white line is pointed at my target, which is just over the orange barber pole out there on the driving range. Now, here's the key. With your feet, I want your feet to be ever so slightly closed. We're not talking crazy, we're talking just a little bit. So when my club face is square to the target, orange pole, my stance is ever so slightly closed. What that's going to do is it's going to help me swing the club from in to out with a square to slightly closed club face. That will produce the draw that I'm looking for. So let's tie a couple of these things together, and then we're going to talk about number 5, which is probably the most fun one. So here we go. We're going to set up club face square, pointed at my target, stance slightly closed, ball forward. I'm going to shift, pivot, and go. Oh yeah. Little bit on the toe, so it had a tad bit more hook than I wanted or draw than I wanted, but I will take that. That thing was hot. All right, number 5 is they understand how to train themselves to swing faster. Now what I mean by that is they'll actually go to the driving range and hit shots where they try to swing, shall I say, out of their shoes, right? They will just get after it. Far too often in golf, we tell people what? Slow down. You're swinging too fast. Your tempo's too quick. Slow, slow, slow. That's constantly what we're telling people. And there's some truth to that. But we also have to learn to train our top speed. So as an example, if I swing this club at my maximum speed, I'm going to say 110%. Now, I'm not advocating that you swing at 110% on the golf course. But if I can train at 110% here, what that does is that raises my normal swing, so that when I move over to the golf course, now my normal swing, instead of being maybe 85, is now 90. The only way to create more club head speed and to learn to move faster is to train faster. So let me go ahead and tee one up here. Nick, this is gonna be a fun one right here, my friend. All right, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna get after this. My whole goal here is to swing as fast as I can. I don't care where the ball goes, but I am gonna take the process and, excuse me, the time to get set up correctly. Club face square, you know, boom, boom, a little shift. All right, here we go. I'm gonna just swing this thing as fast as I can without hurting myself. I would never swing like that on the golf course, but if I can train that way, that raises my normal cadence, it raises my normal swing speed, so when I go to the golf course, I can swing it a little bit faster. Now that we've increased your club head speed, check out my next video. And if you want to personally work with me and my team on your golf game, check out vlscoaching.com.